Rick always thrived at his dinner parties. He would sit next to me, cool and expressionless, but I could sense his growing frustration. To him, I was a reflection of his success, a trophy wife who should look the part but never speak out of turn. I was invisible, an afterthought.
Where are your earrings? The one that I brought for you on our wedding day?
His voice sliced through the air, sharp and commanding. I blinked, staring at my plate. I ate them, I replied, my voice unnervingly calm. I could feel the eyes of everyone at the table shift toward me, their curiosity mingling with confusion. Rick's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing in disbelief.
You what? You ate them?
I liked how they felt going down my throat. It made me feel free. The room fell silent, the tension palpable. Rick's face flushed, his hand gripping his wine glass with such force I thought it might shatter. The humiliation on his face was unmistakable, his perfect facade cracking before the eyes of his guests. The rest of the evening was a blur. When we got home, Rick didn't say a word. He simply dragged me upstairs, shoving me into the spare room where he always sent me when I misbehaved. Hours passed. Alone, trapped, my mind spun in circles. The suffocating feeling of being locked away again clawed at me. And then, it returned. That craving, the urge to swallow something sharp, something wrong. My body ached for that rush, that sense of control. I scanned the room, my eyes landing on anything I could consume. Paper clips. I chewed on one, swallowed, but it wasn't enough. Batteries, paper clippers. Each bite soothed the chaos inside me, but it still wasn't enough. Then, I saw them. Nails, sitting on the dresser, glinting in the dim light. I grabbed one, slipped it into my mouth, and bit down. The sharp edges cut into my gums, and the taste of blood filled my mouth, but the pain grounded me. It felt right. I chewed, the crunch of metal reverberating through my body. It was intoxicating, a twisted relief from the prison of my life. Everything faded to black after that. My stomach throbbed, and I heard the faint murmurs of doctors discussing my case. They found the nails, the batteries, the pieces of my secret life. But worse, they discovered I was pregnant. Rick loomed over me, his face a mask of disgust and calculation. He didn't care about me. He never did. All that mattered was the baby, his heir. He insisted I see a psychiatrist, demanded I be fixed for the sake of his future. Therapy became another prison. Each session felt like another layer of control Rick was imposing on me. He attended every meeting, hovered over every conversation. He was suffocating me, pressing down on my chest until I could barely breathe. Then, it happened. One night, Rick and I argued. He accused me of being insane, of being unfit to be a mother. His words tore at me, each one sinking deeper, fueling the panic inside me. I needed something, anything, to calm the storm. My fingers twitched, reaching for the screwdriver on the nearby table. I lifted it to my mouth, desperate for that familiar release. But Rick saw and lunged at me, ripping it from my grasp. And that was it. Something inside me broke. In a blind rage, I snatched the screwdriver back and drove it into him. Once, twice, over and over. His body collapsed, his eyes wide, empty. Blood pooled around him, staining the perfect life he had built. Panic seized me, so did the craving. The familiar need gnawed at me, unstoppable. I knelt beside Rick, my hands trembling, and took his hand in mine. Then, slowly, I brought it to my mouth. I chewed. The bones cracked between my teeth, the taste of iron filling my mouth. It was grotesque, horrifying, but I couldn't stop. It was the only thing that made me feel real. When the police arrived, they found me sitting in the blood, Rick's lifeless hand clenched between my teeth. Now I sit here in this cold, empty cell. Rick is gone. His family has disowned me. The baby is gone too. But for the first time in my life, I feel free.
I hate this looping life. My legs are numb from running errands all day at work, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Feels like an endless loop to me. The sound of the wheels rolling steadily on the tracks is like a sad song, repeating over and over without end. Suddenly, the lights in the train car go out. The air around me becomes cold, and the train shakes violently. A voice comes over the loudspeaker. "There is a problem on the train, please remain calm." Then quickly announces, "This is Shinkansen Guruguru Zero headed to Tokyo." My heart pounds, and I decide to go to the other cars to check on the situation. But strangely, every car looks the same, and each one bears the number 4. My head starts spinning with unanswered questions. The same man is slumped against the wall. The same old man sits in the corner of the car. "You've fallen into a loop," he says, his voice deep and ominous. "A loop?" I ask, not understanding what he means. "Yes, to escape you must follow the rules. If you see something unusual, turn back. If you see nothing unusual, keep moving to the next car," the old man said. I look around again. Everything around me is identical to the previous cars, from the seat designs to the dim lighting and stifling air. But as I move further in, a shiver runs down my spine, like the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, I see a human hand on the train floor, sticking out from under a seat. It moves as if trying to grab me. My heart stops for a moment and fear surges up. A headless body was trying to cling to me, creeping closer to me, and its hands were reaching out as if searching for something. I realize this is something unusual, just as the old man said. I turn around, ready to run forward. Suddenly, a head fell right before my eyes. Its eyes are wide open, lifeless, and its mouth is agape as if trying to scream, but no sound comes out. In a split-second reaction, I dodge the bizarre head instinctively to avoid danger. I crawl into. Before I can catch my breath, suddenly, the sound of breaking glass comes from above. Water starts pouring into the car quickly like an invisible monster. I can't think, just act as fast as I can, my feet pounding on the floor. My heart races, breaths coming in gasps. The water rises, nearly reaching my knees. Although the strong current was blocking me, I still tried to move forward as quickly as possible. Just in time. My heart feels like it will explode, having narrowly escaped the dangerous water. Entering car number 2, I see the man who was asleep before is now awake, sitting upright. At first I don't notice, but then I see his legs sticking out, moving like octopus tentacles. When I accidentally look into his eyes, they suddenly glow, cold and malevolent. He screams, the sound echoing through the car, then stands up, chasing after me. My heart races and my legs seem to gain strength from the fear. I turn and run as fast as I can toward the door, but the distance between me and the octopus man is quickly shortened. I can hear his tentacles stretching out. The door to the car closes just as I barely make it through. Car number 1. I sigh in relief, barely escaping the pursuit. Car number 1 is eerily quiet. I carefully search everywhere, checking each seat, every corner, hoping to find some sign. Each step makes my heart beat faster. Nothing unusual. I check every little detail, but everything is normal. I decide to take a risk. Thankfully, I step into car number 0, feeling a blanket of calmness. This is the last car. I think I'm close to escaping the loop. This car looks completely normal, with no signs of anything unusual. I sigh in relief, thinking I've finally escaped the nightmare. But then, just as I'm about to leave the car, I notice something moving in the corner. A strange creature stands up from a seat, its eyes glowing brightly in the dark. Its skin blends with the patterned seat fabric, making it invisible until now. The creature starts moving toward me, quickly and silently. Panicked, I turn and run toward the other door. The creature is almost upon me. Its footsteps are heavy. Its breath is cold like a freezing wind on my neck. I run as fast as I can, but it feels like I'm never fast enough. The creature is getting closer. I can feel its presence right behind me. Just as I reach the door, a seat suddenly flipped down, tripping me up, and I fall to the floor. The creature lunges, its long, bony arms ready to grab me. I can't do anything but close my eyes, bracing for the inevitable end. I wake up after a bizarre dream. A worried woman looks at me suddenly, concerned in her eyes, asking, "Do you know why everything seems to be repeating?" "You've fallen into a loop." I can't control my voice. "If you want to escape, remember the rules. If you see something unusual, run straight ahead, don't look back." I had been mindlessly scrolling through my phone, watching random videos, when an ad popped up. "Detect ghosts within 2 meters." It blared in bold letters, followed by eerie music. It looked ridiculous, probably just another gimmick. But I love horror. I was genuinely curious to see how detecting a nearby ghost would scare me. I downloaded the app. As the screen loaded, the app explained how it worked. Something about EMF readings and special sensors. I wasn't paying attention. I was just ready to laugh at how fake it would be. The app booted up and a radar-like interface appeared on my phone. I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, sure," I muttered. For a minute, nothing happened. The screen stayed blank as I pointed it around the living room. I was about to delete it when the phone vibrated in my hand. "Ghost detected." I froze. The words blinked at me, the phone emitting a soft beep. "Okay, that's creepy," I thought, but it was just a coincidence. Then I heard it, a faint clatter, the unmistakable sound of a dish hitting the floor in the kitchen. My skin prickled, the hairs on my neck standing on end. Slowly, I clutched my phone and made my way to the kitchen. It was probably just the wind or a breeze from an open window, nothing more. But when I stepped into the room, everything was in place, except for a shattered bowl on the floor. No big deal. It must have been too close to the edge, I told myself. I knelt down to pick up the pieces, muttering under my breath about clumsy accidents, but something felt off. The windows were closed, and there wasn't a breeze. Just as I was gathering the shards, I noticed movement. Something small, pale, and thin. My heart stopped. Right there, just inches from my hand, a long, bony hand was gathering grains of rice from the shattered bowl. The hand was skeletal, fingers impossibly long, The nails cracked and yellowed. I held my breath as the hand slowly, deliberately pulled back into the shadows under the kitchen counter. My eyes followed it. And there, in the corner by the refrigerator, something was crouched in the darkness. It was hunched, its body grotesquely thin, limbs too long for its frame. Its face, pale and gaunt, with hollow, sunken eyes, turned toward me. And in its hand, it was holding a single grain of rice, which it slowly, disgustingly brought to its mouth and ate. I stood paralyzed, my legs trembling. The thing's eyes, dead, hollow pits, locked onto mine. It reached out again, its arms impossibly long, fingers stretching toward the shattered remains of the bowl, plucking at the rice like a starving animal. I bolted. Without thinking, I ran out of the kitchen, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might burst. My mind raced. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. I had probably imagined it. After all, I had just watched a horror movie. Yeah, that had to be it. But then my phone buzzed again. Ghost detected. The message made my blood run cold. No, not again. I was still standing in the hallway, catching my breath, when I heard the faint creak of a cabinet door. Slowly, I peeked into the living room. My TV drawer door was wide open. I hadn't touched it. I stepped closer, the tension building in my chest. That's when I noticed the drawer under the TV, shaking violently as if something inside was trying to break free. I swallowed hard, my throat dry, and stepped closer. The rattling grew more frantic, the drawer slamming against the cabinet as though it were possessed. My hand hovered over the handle, trembling as I debated whether or not to open it. Before I could make a decision, the drawer burst open with a loud bang and something came crawling out. I stumbled back, my legs barely holding me up. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be real. Human heads, disembodied, their eyes wide open and mouths agape, were spilling out of the drawer, rolling across the floor. But they didn't stop at the floor. No, they lifted, hovering in the air like grotesque balloons, their eyes fixed on me as they floated toward the ceiling. I backed into the wall, my heart hammering in my chest. One of the heads twitched, its mouth stretching into a ghastly grin. My breath caught in my throat as I scrambled to get to my bedroom in my panic. The heads floated closer, circling above me like vultures waiting for me to drop. I could hear the faint, garbled whispers escaping their lips, but I couldn't understand a word. All I knew was that I had to get out of there. I slammed the door shut, gasping for breath. I heard nothing more and breathed a sigh of relief. My phone buzzed again, many times, its vibration pulling my attention back to the screen. I hesitated for a second before glancing down. Ghost detected. The words sent a chill down my spine. I decided to delete the app. It seemed like I had been on my phone for too long, and my mind was no longer clear. I should get some sleep.